been fired from jobs in retailing, media, farming, banking and comedy. And I'm afraid to say, John, for those of us who know you well, that is entirely credible. So these days, John is a speaker. He's a Jungian, interested in Jungian psychology and philosophy. He's, I was going to say certified, I think accredited is probably the word I'm looking for, Myers-Briggs practitioner. He's a big ideas inspirer and a community projects facilitator, and many of those of us locally are familiar with the travails of a character called Jack Muir, who bears an extraordinary resemblance to him, firstly through his wild school days in Christchurch Boys Grammar in Boyanawaya, and more recently as a young expatriate in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. So who knows what John's got for us tonight.
In 1968, the Bank of New South Wales decided to send me to Papua New Guinea. They thought I had a future in banking. I was in Moresby for about a month and things didn't go too well. I was expelled to Goroka. Things got worse in Goroka. I was a 19-year-old, I was very dysfunctional, and as you know, those of you who were there in 1968, it was a crazy world in the West. And I was aware of all that, but I didn't know what it meant to me, what it meant to the world. I was hell-bent on stuff. And it didn't turn out well. I was there about 9 months, I got the sack. I got the sack really, not because I stole money from the bank, I would never do that. I did a number of things, there were things I did, but I think it really came to a head one night when I went out with a coffee buyer and we came back to the bank quarters and they locked me out and we climbed up on the balcony and we got a couple of fire extinguishers and we filled up all the rooms with fire extinguisher foam, and they didn't like that, and then we escaped and we ran the Toyota Land Cruiser into the bank manager's veranda and demolished it, and then we flattened all the big metal ice cream cone style rubbish bins, and when I got to work the next morning the bank manager said, "You're finished, Alice." On my last day I went to the Bird of Paradise Hotel by time and I was drinking in the lounge bar with two of my friends. There was Richard, who was a kind of white guy but not really white, he was kind of off-white, and George, a very, very black man. We were just drinking South Pacific Lager, or as we used to call it, puke, because it tasted like puke and you would drink it until you puked, and then you would drink some more. When suddenly from the other end of the bar, somebody yelled out, "Why don't you fuck off, you coons?" Now, we were already 7 years away from independence, but we knew it was George's country. George was destined to be something important in this new nation. We were still surprised. We knew it was still a colony of Australia, but we were still surprised. George kind of exploded and launched himself at the other end of the bar, and we, Richard and I, went with him, and when we got there was a scrum and there was kicking and punching and gouging and hair pulling, but the scrum was too tough for us and they pushed us out into the beer garden, and the manager followed and he brought us more puke and said, "I'm really sorry about Arthur, it's his birthday, he's drunk, please can you cut us some slack, I'll bring you as much puke as you want." And he kept bringing us puke and we kept drinking puke until late in the afternoon, and the more we drank, the angrier and more upset we got, and George had to go home to his family, and George was the only one with a car, he had a little Volkswagen. George drove Richard to his place and then he dropped me off at the bank quarters. When I got out by the stage, I was very, very angry, and I walked into the bank dining room, and the first person I saw was Haynes. And Haynes was evil. And I said to Haynes, "You are a Nazi racist asshole." And Haynes said, "Doust, you are a gin-jogging piece of shit." And I pushed him, and he pushed me, I pushed him, he pushed me, I pushed him, he pushed me, I pushed him a little harder, and he fell back. And when he came back up, he had in his hand a table tennis racket, and he flung it at me, and it got me just in the corner of the eye, and that soft bit of flesh, and it ripped the hole there, and the blood came out so quickly. I was stunned, and he left, and then I followed him. He went upstairs, and I went after him, and when I got to the top of the stairs, he was waiting, and I launched myself at him, but he came a little harder. We fell to the ground. I fell first, struck my head, and lost consciousness. When I came to, Haynes had my neck in his elbow corner, and he was slapping my face with his hand and saying, "Give up! Give up! Give up!" I wouldn't give up. I would never give up, not to a racist, Nazi asshole. I couldn't breathe. Give up! Give up! And then I lost consciousness again. And when I woke up, Haynes had gone. And I lay there and I sobbed for a bit, and then I could feel all the stuff coming out of my face, and I could taste some of the saltiness, and there was blood, and I realised that I was also bleeding from my nose. I must have hit it as I went down, and I came on the floor. And I went into Haynes' room and I said, "I'm coming back, and I'm going to kill you." And I meant it. I really wanted to kill him. I wanted to stab him. I went downstairs and I ran through the dining room so no one could stop me, and I went down the street, found a vacant back garden, lay and went to sleep. And I woke when it started to rain, because it always rained in the Highlands. I don't remember what time it rained, 9 o'clock, whatever. And the rain kind of washed up away from me, and I sat up, and I can remember I saw something, a little thing, a kind of light, a sort of inside something, and I got up and I went back to the back quarters, and I found a stick and threw it up high to hit Haynes's window, and he came out and I said, "Haynes, can I see you for a minute?" And Haynes came down and I went to him and I said, "I'm so sorry, Haynes. I really didn't want to kill you. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm an alcoholic. My big sack. My life is it." And I looked up at Haynes, and he was crying too. And I knew then that both of us were living lies.
To the Highlands is a tough book, as you have no doubt gathered, and we await with interest the next in the tale.